welcome back to another video. This really popped when I saw it. That to me is a monster increase. Again, this book got hot. This book is ready to go higher. So let's jump right into it. We are back today with another statue review from Diamond Select Toys. Without further ado, let's get into the review. Welcome back to the channel, guys. This is Lawrence over at Mighty Comics and Collectibles. I want to thank you guys for joining me for another video. You guys know what day it is. It is my favorite day of the week where we break down the Hot 10 Comics of the Week. But before we get started, like every week, I ask you, if you're not a current subscriber of the channel, do me a favor, slap the hell out of that subscribe button. You know I'm giving an awesome Thanos diorama away once we hit 4,000 subs to one lucky subscriber of the channel. And of course, smash the hell out of that like button. Let's get this video out there to everyone in the community. Let's get this one over 100 likes. With that said, let's jump into this week's breakdown. At number 10 this week, and kicking off the list, is a copy of Strange Adventures number 205 and the first appearance of Deadman in a CGC 3.0. Just sold last week for $290, up 15% since November. Now, this book has been on the list and off the list for the better part of a year. Not sure why it's on and off, but regardless, I'm not really interested in purchasing this book, even though I don't think $300 for a 3.0 is that bad. If you're a Deadman fan and you want to pick it up, be my guest. For me, I'm just not interested. At number 9 on the list is a copy of All-Star Comics number 58 and the first appearance of Power Girl, a Kryptonian cousin of Earth 2 Superman, and a CGC 9.4. Just sold the prior week for $370, up 8% over the average. Again, if you want a high-grade copy of this book, it looks like right now you're going to have to pay up. I've owned this book in the past, probably around an 8.0 grade, and I did not break the bank. I don't want to spend that kind of money on this book. Maybe the future of DC, we may see this character, but for me, it's just too much money to spend for a character like this. At the 8th spot this week is a copy of Conan the Barbarian number 1 and the first appearance of Conan, and of course is also the first cameo appearance of King Kull in a CGC high grade 8.0. Just sold last week for $760, up 15% over the average. Now, I have owned this book in the past. Again, I think it's an awesome Bronze Age key, one worthy of your collection. But we're talking about almost $1,000, $800 for a high-grade copy of this one. I just think there's better places to put your money than Conan the Barbarian. We've seen a ton already in movies past. Again, not in the MCU. Maybe he'll show up, maybe he won't. I'm not sure how this character fits in what they're doing. Regardless, I just don't want to spend the money on this key, even though I think it's a great book. At number 7 on this week's list is a copy of New Mutants 98 and the first appearance of Deadpool. We all know he's going to show up in the MCU sooner rather than later in Deadpool 3, and maybe even before that, in a CGC 9.8. Just sold the prior week for $1,817, up a whopping 10% over the average. This may be a new record. It might be 2,000. I'm really not that sure. Regardless, guys, I just sold my 9.8 copy a few months back for around $1,500. This is a really big sale right now for this character. I actually think this book has a ceiling of around $2,000, so I'm not sure I'll be buying it right now at these levels. If this book happens to come in maybe after he shows up in the MCU, because I don't think he's going to hang around that long. Ryan Reynolds is probably in his late 40s at this point, maybe mid 40s. Probably not long for the MCU, so I'm not sure I'll be buying this book right here and now. I love the book, only at a 9.8, but maybe you want to wait. At number 6 this week is a copy of Tales of Suspense number 94 and the first appearance of MODOK. I believe this is 3 weeks in a row that this book has made it on this list. And a CGC 6.5. Just sold last week for $300, up 35% over the average. I've been telling you guys for the past couple of weeks, listen, I think this book is awesome, but I don't want to spend $300 on a first appearance of a character that may only show up a couple of times in the MCU. Not sure what's going to happen after they use this character. This book was on this list maybe about a year ago when we first got the rumor he was going to show up. Now it's back on again for 3 weeks. Wait for him to show up. Wait for this book to die down if you want to make the purchase. Right now is not the time. At number 5 this week is a copy of Star Wars number 1 and the first appearance of our favorite Star Wars characters, Luke Skywalker, Darth Vader, Princess Leia, C-3PO, and of course R2-D2. In a CGC 9.6, just sold last week for $1,140, up 3% over the average. Now, this is a Star Wars book that I can get into. I'm not into the modern characters for Star Wars. Again, of course, I'm a Star Wars fan, although not a big one. Again, you have to own this book, I think, if you enjoy Star Wars. You don't have to go out and get a 9.6 copy of this one. Just have a mid-grade, low-grade, high-grade, whatever you want in your collection. I do think it's worth owning just because of the history of these movies. Yes, I don't want to spend $1,200, but I do want a nice mid-grade copy in my collection just for nostalgia purposes, but I'm not breaking the bank. But there are people out there who might want to buy a 9.6, 9.8 copy. God bless you guys. Go for it. At the 4th spot this week is a copy of Wolverine #1 and the first appearance of Wolverine in his own solo title, all being a limited series. And of course, this classic cover by the great Frank Miller, and a CGC 9.8, just sold last week for $930, up 20% over the average. Now, to me, I love this book. I love this cover. I want a mid to high grade in my collection, but I'm not spending any amount of money for these high grade books. Almost $1,000 for a copy of this one. You could probably save another $2,000 and own a first appearance of Wolverine. That's the better buy. So don't throw high change at this book. It's just not worth it. But it's an awesome cover and an awesome book I want in my collection, just not at that price. At number 3 on this list is a copy of Marvel Premiere #47 and the first appearance of Scott Lang as the new Ant-Man. And of course, is also the first appearance of his daughter, Cassie Lang, and a CGC 9.6, just sold the prior week for $475, up 2% over the average. I told you guys a bunch of times, I love this book, I love this cover, but just not for the price. I want to own a nice raw copy, probably very fine to fine range if I can get my hands on one. If I can get it for cheap, $100-$150 max, just to own it. Again, this is not an investment book. At the 2 spot on this list is the most hated book, by me at least, on this list this week. It is a copy of Omega Men #3 and the first appearance of Lobo. This book is now 12 weeks on this list and is CGC 9.8, just sold last week, tying the all-time high, I believe, of $450, up 36% over the average. To me, I think it's too much money to spend on this book. I've told you guys for the past 12 weeks, if I could get it for around $300 at a 9.8 and only at a 9.8, I do it, maybe up to $350, but because it's come so far, so quick, probably around 30-something% over the past couple of months, I'm staying away. I'm just not interested. And finally, at the top spot this week is The Last of Us American Dreams #1, the prequel comic to the popular video game and now a hit TV show. Of course, there are people out there speculating right now and comparing this book to The Walking Dead #1, and it remains to be seen. Regardless, guys, it's CGC 9.8, just sold last week for $1,150, up 3% over the average. Again, I told you last week, I'm not too familiar with this book. I haven't watched the show. Everybody's telling me it's an awesome show, so maybe, you know what, I'll go ahead and watch it. Regardless, if you're into this book, go ahead, pick it up. For me, I'm not that familiar, so I can't give you a thumbs up. Hope you guys enjoyed this video this week. Again, some of the same books that we have been seeing. There are no best buys this week because I didn't recommend any books. I said go ahead and pick up a Star Wars one if you guys want for your collection. I do think it's worth owning, but I'm not spending crazy amounts of money on that book. So no best buys of the week this week. This is Lawrence over at Mighty Comics and Collectibles saying thank you for watching, and I'll talk to you guys soon.